Okay, welcome everyone to IE 352 Ergonomics, and this is the first lecture, Introduction to Human Factors Engineering Ergonomics. We hear these two terms together most of the time, ergonomics and human factors engineering. Do you think there is a difference or are they similar? We will go about the definition, what are the main domains of ergonomics or human factors, and what is this subject about. And inshallah, you will enjoy this course and you will enjoy the journey together of learning about ergonomics. Starting with the background of the ergonomics. The word ergonomics came from a Greek word or two words in the Greek language, the root of the English language and other language like the Latin language. Ergo, which means the work, and nomos, which is law. If you combine those two words together, it means the work law, the working law, you can say that. So this is how is the root of this word came from. And the principle of ergonomics not only on the occupational environment is meaning that ما هو مرتبط فقط في الصحة المهنية in the offices. No, it can go beyond the office and factories. You can apply ergonomics even at your home. You can apply ergonomics in the service industry. You can apply ergonomics in healthcare. Actually, now in healthcare, a lot of application of ergonomics in the healthcare and also in the recreational industries. For example, if you look to this car, now you see how the dashboard and the screens in your cars are improving with the generations of and the development of cars. Nowadays, we can see also some cars provide you with a projected screen on your glass window. So you don't have to move your head and track the GPS or track your odometer, speed meter. So you can, while you are looking to the road, you can see it through the glass as a projected screen. So this is one of the things or one of the simplest application of ergonomics. Your car seat basically is an ergonomic application because it consists of a main or minimum application of ergonomics to support your lower back and to provide you with a comfort while you are driving. طبعا it varies between companies and it varies sometimes between the segment of the car. For example, if you take the standard car compared to the full option car, that will give you more kind of advanced or more comfort experience, or in other words, more ergonomics application. The blind spot in your mirror side, this is also ergonomics, to reduce the need or to turn your heads sides and look to the roads. In the healthcare, also a lot of application, the biomechanics, the artificial parts of the human body. This is a wide application of ergonomics. In the services, when you provide automated service through sometimes even the application, like the bank application service, this is ergonomics. Why? Because you saved me from going to the bank branch and wait in the queue to process my transactions. This is how we used to do the transactions all the time. So the application or and the ergonomics can go in a wide range of application. We will go through what is the objective of applying ergonomics at the end of this session, but this is just an overview about the root of the word ergonomics, where it came from. So if we go to the definition, The definition of ergonomics, as you can see, it's highlighted here with two colors, the red and the green. In the red color, we talk about the discipline itself, المجال أو التخصص حق ergonomics. In the green part, we talk about the profession, the application, مهنة أو تطبيق ergonomics. Okay? So the definition is required from you. Everything you see basically in the slides and from my explanation is going to be required at the end of this course. So the word ergonomics or human factors is the scientific discipline concerned with understanding of the interaction among humans and other elements of a systems. فهو مجال متعلق بفهم التفاعل ما بين الهيومن والعناصر الأخرى في السيستم. This is as a discipline, as I say. Now, what about as an application, as an engineer profession in ergonomics is the apply. When you see apply, design, solve, you get to the definition of the engineering tailored based on the scientific application you are working on. For example, here we're talking about the ergonomics, but those words are keywords for any engineering discipline. So it's the profession that applies theory, principles, data, and methods to design. So is the objective here to design. At the end, as an engineer, you design, you solve problems. Why we design? Why we solve the problem using these principles, data, and methods? In order to optimize human well-being and overall system performance. So these are the two main objectives. We will break them thoroughly in the coming slides. But those are the objectives of the ergonomics. The optimizing of the human well-being. The ergonomics want you to be more comfort while you are working. The ergonomics want to reduce risk, wants to increase the safety of your work environment. The ergonomic at the end also wants to optimize or improve the productivity of the system performance. Because when I give you a better comfort working area, a better comfort working system, I reduce the risk, I increase the safety, definitely the productivity also would be improved. So this is the main objective of the ergonomics. And as I said, the red part is the scientific definition of the ergonomics, regardless of the application. Now, human factors ergonomics, as we said, and you hear it all the time, comes together. They are the same. There is no difference between them. It's like when we use the weight unit, kilogram here in Saudi Arabia, and you can use pound or in United States or in Canada. So these units doesn't make difference to the concept of the weight. Both they measure the weight. Here is the same. Those two words, ergonomics, are just words came from different regions and different areas where is the application of the ergonomics exists. The word ergonomics, you hear it more from the Europe country, and the human factors, you hear it or you see it more in the United States and Canada. So both, they mean the same, and those terms, both of them are accepted worldwide. Ergonomics and safety. You hear me that I said when I apply the ergonomics, I'm expecting at the end, I'm improving comfort of the interaction environment between the human and the system, and also reduce the risk, or another way, increase the safety. So the ergonomics, the ergonomist engineer, and now this is a profession, ergonomist engineer, مهندس بيئة العمل or مهندس الergonomics or مهندس العوامل البشرية, all meaning the same, okay? It increases safety, in different area and ergonomics domains. We have 3 domains here in this course, or they are the main domains of the ergonomics, we can say. Those domains are very important and you need to know them very well. And there are subdomains for or some examples for those domains. You need to know them very well also. We will talk about them in the coming slide. Physical ergonomics domain, cognitive ergonomics domain, and organizational ergonomics domain. So the ergonomist engineer increase the safety, reduce injuries. Definitely, when I increase the safety, I'm reducing the injuries, reducing the accident, preventing them from happening. This is what is the meaning of increasing the safety, obviously. So when you do all that, you are going to do those with the respect or within the context of the ergonomic domains, physical ergonomics, cognitive, and organizational. So we will talk about them one by one. Let's start with the physical ergonomics, the first domain of the ergonomics. This physical ergonomics is dealing with the human body physics based on his structure or her structure, that they are or interacting with the machines in the work environment. Let's take an example to understand what is this concept. Looking to the picture may also make an idea about what we are talking about. If you see this man, how he's handling the box here, and if you see this person, seems to be he has a lower back pain and holding this cylinder, it's like he handled it in a wrong way. You see this person who's working on the pipe, and in the zoom in picture, this is the body structure of the shoulder, لكتف العامل. So while he's working with this position for a long time, that will cause a tear of the or soreness for the muscle tissues في shoulder. The same for all these small pictures here. It shows there is kind of physical interaction between the body, the human body or the human being, and the machines or the instruments or the working environment. Okay. So the sub-examples for the physical ergonomics, the working posture. إيش يعني working posture? If you see this picture here on the left, the top, here a position of a seat, office seat or office chair, and most of you are having this while they are doing their lab or studying at home. This posture on the left side, where is the X mark, that definitely will cause lower back pain, and even sometimes cause a curve in the spinal. After a time, you see the spinal or the back of the person is kind of curving to down, يعني عنده انحناء يصير في الظهر. But having a working posture correct, like this here, to support your lower back. Why we need to support the lower back? To give you a straight seated position and avoid اللي هو curving, so it cause you injured or even also as one of your colleagues says, reduce his productivity because he will feel soreness and pain, so it will reduce his productivity. The same handling the boxes in this position compared to this one, whereas a machine or a tool that give you a tilt to the box, so when you handle or get things inside the box, you don't need to bend over and hurt your back. So this is working posture example. Material handling, you need to deal with the material based on certain instructions that, or certain criteria, to don't harm your body or your physical human or body structure. Like this guy here, when he handle this cylinder, it has to be handled with certain procedure to don't harm his lower back. The workplace layout and design, definitely it's affecting the physical ergonomics. How? Because it could be having exposed material that is hazard to the labor. Safety and health, أعضاء الجسم, الhelmet, how it's protecting the human from, and especially the engineering helmet, I'm talking that the professional one, protecting from anything falls to the human head. Repetitive movement, this is very important. Repetitive movement. When you do repetitive movements over a long period of time without taking break, and I'm talking about movement that based on your muscle system, like this one here, this guy working on this a pipeline, having his arms holds up for long time, doing this over and over and over during the work days, it will cause a damage to his muscles. The also work related to the muscle tissues and disorders, the same thing. If you are carrying something that is very heavy, it could cause you a disorder or dislocation to your sometimes your joints. So the physical ergonomics domains deal with the physical interaction between the labor or the human and his working environment or his working system. Moving on to the second domain, which is the cognitive. Cognitive, physical by the way was اللي هو الجسدي، الجزء الجسدي. الcognitive is the اللي هو بالعربي الذهني أو التفكيري. هو concerned with the mental process. And process of your brain during the final exam definitely different than while you are watching this lecture or attending the class. Why? Because now the observing all what it's need from you, my lecture and my talks, to understand the concept or the material. During your final exam, your brains goes just hyper that time. You need some kind of like caffeine or chocolate to get your brain's nerves all active during the final exam, because you are observing and solving, and there is a time pressure over there where you need to finish the exam within a certain time. So definitely that time or this process considered to be under the domain of the cognitive ergonomics. In the interaction between the human being and the working system under the cognitive ergonomics, we need to increase the safety or reduce the risk or the injuries or the accident that comes from the cognitive domain. How these, or can you give me some examples? Okay, for example, decision making. If you are working in an environment like the aviation tower, برج المراقبة للملاحة والطيران, this is one of the job. It's a very tough job. It need a certain criteria for those people who be admitted and working there, because they work on a stress and they need to make critical decision in a short time with a lot of pressure and responsibility to make those decisions. And I think you may have watched before some videos showing how this job is difficult. The same if you are working on a job like, for example, here the pilot, he is working with under the cognitive ergonomics, if we want to increase the safety and reduce the injuries and accidents, we need to consider that a special training, that's why you see the training here, is needed, so the pilot can be eligible to take off the airplane. Why? Because it needs a mental process, and a heavy mental process, that require a special training. You cannot just go and fly small airplanes, the training airplanes, and all of a sudden you just move on and get to the commercial airplane where you carry hundreds of people life with you. You need a special training, special observation, and skills also at the same time. That's why there are a lot of tests for those pilots before they be eligible to be co-pilot first, before they be a full pilot and ride the airplane. The human-computer interaction. If you are working with a computer machine or the CNC machine, you need to have a special training to handle the mental process while you are dealing with these machines, because those machines will give you some messages, some entry needed, and some input needed from you, some responses needed from you, so to proceed with this work. The same if you are working in a factory and there is a setup for the machines need to be done. This setup of entry and interaction, it needs more of mental process than a physical, because the physical part is not going to be heavily in this domain. It's sometimes it's just clicking buttons here and there and entering some inputs in the keyboard and so on. As we said, the decision making is one of the things. The mental workload, if you are working for a place where it needs mental thinking, like if you are a lawyer, let's say, it needs a lot of thinking when you are preparing to go to the court, what you are going to talk, how you answer questions, and how you, there are some jobs need mental train or mental workload more compared to the physical load. The third domain we have here is the organizational ergonomics, or we can say optimization of socio-technical system. السوشيو-تكنيكال مقصود به الاجتماعي وليس اللي هو فقط التكنولوجي. Organizational ergonomics, the easiest example I can give it to you and you can get the idea of this domain. When you work in a team project, this is a very good example how we improve the productivity, how we improve the comfort. Remember when we talked about the ergonomics objective, when we apply the ergonomics, we want to improve comfortability, comfort. We want to improve the safety. Also, we want to improve the productivity. Under this domain of the organizational ergonomics, the good example is working in teams. Imagine, I'm giving you now two scenarios, and you will see how even the ergonomics application can be done in this domain by very simple application. If I'm going to say I will assign the team members in this project, there are 5 members in the team. I will assign the team members. Or let's say if you're doing your capstone design project and we assign the team members, we don't let you to choose your pairs. On the other scenario, if I ask you to form the teams, but each team has to be 5 members, which one is more ergonomically or based on this concept of ergonomic application will be more fit to the students? Definitely the second scenario. Why? Because it will provide them more comfort and homogeneous to work with pairs that they have selected them, rather than I put them in a team where they work with people they haven't selected them, or they don't know them, maybe sometimes, or maybe they don't want to be working with some of them. And this has happened in real life. So you may in school, definitely you see both scenarios, but I'm giving you how this application of this domain could be happening in very small example. But in real life work, you may not have the choice to do that. You will be working with people, you don't select them, your boss, your team worker. So team cooperative work, this is an example of the organizational ergonomics domain. Communication, definitely how the communication be. I have worked with some in some project where is the team members are in distance. We are not located even in the same time zone. We work in different time zone. Between us, there are like 4 hours time shift. So working with this will need setup of a communication plan to provide ergonomic environment for this small organization or small team. Task design. When you do task design in your organization, definitely you consider that as a part of an example of the organizational ergonomics domain, like what we do here. And as we said, I assign the task early from day one, and talk about it in the beginning of the class. It's better than postpone it later, so the students will not have enough time to prepare themselves. Design of shift hours, the same thing. When you design for shift hours, that's mean you maintain your factory or your work continuously working with no stop, because this is needed. But at the same time, you need to design those shifts in a way that you consider the ergonomic factor for your employee. Quality management is the same thing. When you apply the quality management, you will provide a better satisfaction to your employee and to your uh, consumers or customers. So these are examples of the organizational ergonomics domain. Let's move on to, now we have finished or completed the 3 domains of the ergonomics. Now let's talk about the interdisciplinary nature of ergonomics. The ergonomics interfere with 6 sciences. The ergonomics interfere or يتداخل مع 6 علوم أو مجالات أخرى. Those are displayed here in the picture. Physiology اللي هو علم وظائف الأعضاء. Physics يعني or familiar with the physics. Anthropometry اللي هو علم الخاص بالقياسات، زي ضغط الدم والسكر والى اخره. عفوا، زي مثلا الاطوال، الوزن، العرض الانسان، يعني طول الشخص والى اخره. Biomechanics اللي هو the easiest example I can give you is the artificial parts of the human body اللي هي الأطراف الصناعية. This is a very a good example of biomechanics. General engineering, psychology. So these are the 6 sciences that interfere with the ergonomics. So you can see how the ergonomics is very wide in the application. It goes to even to the level of psychology, علم النفس. And there is an elective course familiar in the industrial engineering called علم النفس الصناعي, industrial psychology, because you are dealing with people and humans, and those humans you need to know how to manage them how the people think. The physiology, you need to know about the human body, how it works, what is the mechanism of the human body, what are considered to be an acceptable bio readings، يعني قراءات لضغط الدم، للسكر، لدرجة الحرارة. So when I consider that in my working environment that is under the physical domain, I know how to design it ahead of time to reduce injury and accident for my workers. Anthropometry، إيش يعني ليش نحتاج علم القياسات؟ So when I design a chair, I consider an average height and the maximum height and the minimum height for male and female, both genders, who's going to drive the car, both genders. And the same thing within the gender, we have average height and also we have max and خلينا نقول somehow minimum. How I design it in a way that can fit this population. That's why I need the anthropometry. Biomechanics, I need to learn about the human body mechanics. So when I'm going to design machines or design artificial parts, I design them based on the mechanism and the movement of the original part. Imagine if you are going to design artificial arm، ذراع صناعي or artificial leg، لكن انت ما تعرف، you don't know how the mechanism of the arm and the physiology part out of it. You may design an arm that is useless to the person. And as you investigate more in the biomechanics and physiology, you can develop parts that is more sophisticated and simulated to the real one. The same when I design machines that needs human interaction, I need to understand the biomechanics of the human body. As we say, the car seat or even your office chair, this is a biomechanics design, even though you don't get the sense how, but before they design it, they need to design to know about the physiology and the biomechanics of the back of the human body. So to design it in a way that provide the most comfort and also provide or reduce the injuries while you are sitting for a long period of time on those seats. So you are required to know, as I said, everything here in the slides, and this one included. Talking about the physiology, now I'm going just briefly to go over those 6 sciences or interdisciplinary fields, uses to understand the effect of physical aspect of human body. نحتاجه لنعرف التأثير للجسم الإنسان زي ضغط الدم، ضربات القلب، عشان قلنا لما نبي نصمم عمل يكون معتمد على الدومين الخاص بالفيزيكال، فإحنا نصممه بشيء يتوافق مع أو نستطيع من خلاله نحافظ على الفسيولوجي للhuman being within the acceptable range. Or also we consider the people that has يعني situations that prohibit them from doing this work. يعني for example job محتاجة physical activity, heavy workload based on the physical activity. فimagine إنه الشخص اللي مقدم عليها عمره مثلا over 70. This is not going to be one of the job requirement. يعني you are not going to meet one of the job requirement. The job requirement in this case then has to be specified, maybe certain physical requirements and also age requirements and health requirements. Psychology, نحتاجه to understand the effect of cognitive aspect of human. نحتاج أن نعرف التفكير الذهني للإنسان حتى نتعامل، أو يعني example مثلا الاتنشن والperception اللي هو as now you are taking this course you are getting or giving the attention to what I'm giving here in the course, and the perception حتى لما يعطى عندك الاختبار أو الأسسمنت you can reflect that in your exam. The biomechanics, as we said, the occupational biomechanics deals with the mechanical and motion characteristics of the human body and its elements in the work environment. The physics very wide application, but we can say that it's the concept to describe motion undergone by the various body segments and the forces acting on these body parts during normal daily activity and job tasks. فنحتاج مثلا لقوة معينة لحمل مثلا خلينا نقول an example اللي هو اللوجج في airlines. There are workers or laborers اللي هم الحمالين الحقائب. فأنا أعرف كيف بحط الويت of those luggage. كيف أنا بحدد إنه الويت مثلا 20 كيلوغرام or 25 كيلوغرام؟ لأنه the average physics power needed by the average human who's going to work in this job can handle this repetitive physical activity without having a harm or an accident. عشان كده حتى لما بيكون في overweight بيحطوا ستيكر مثلا أو شيء عليها خاص overweight, so they handle it with care to also يعني prevent the labor from being injured. Anthropometry used to understand the various body dimensions اللي هي أبعاد وقياسات الجسم. General engineering used to develop appropriate tools, facility, and equipment designs. And here is your mainly your task. You are working with these other 5 interdisciplinary at the end to develop tools, devices, even artificial parts. Some people, they go and major in industrial engineering and then they go in biomechanics or biomedical engineering to work on the biomechanics field to develop artificial parts that fit the usage of the human. Also the facility design, you can use it in a way that reduce the risk of injured or accidents and improve the comfort of the workers and productivity as well. And here is, as you can see, the facility planning course, how it fits even the ergonomics engineering, because even in the facility planning, you can consider the ergonomics factor, the physical one, on your facility design. Okay, so this is how things are integrated together. طيب, in this slide here, we see the origins اللي هو الأساس origins, development, التطور, and the applications, التطبيقات of ergonomics from left to right. الاناتومي اللي هو علم التشريح. From the development of the anatomy we had the anthropometry اللي هو القياسات الخاصة بجسم الإنسان. The application, we see it in industrial engineering. So basically, when you do measuring يعني الhuman body, you know how to design a facility that fit differences sizes في human body, movement, how it can be carried during the work floor. فتشوف تطبيقات facility planning from this origin in the industrial engineering. الorthopedics اللي هو جراحة العظام الخاص بالعظام. Biomechanics is the development, and you see that as the application in bioengineering. Physiology is the origin اللي هو علم وظائف الأعضاء. The work physiology, how the is the development of the physiology, and the application is the systems engineering. لأنك أنت الآن بتتعامل مع أنظمة وليس فقط عضو واحد أو قياس واحد، مع نظام كامل للجسم. Medicine, the development is the industrial hygiene اللي هو الصحة المهنية أو الصحة الصناعية. The application is the safety engineering. Psychology, the development is management, and military engineering is the application, how to manage soldiers, which is require a special application of the psychology، لأنك بتتعامل مع ناس حيضحوا بحياتهم أو بيخاطروا في حياتهم. Sociology، علم الاجتماعيات. Labor relations, and the applications, the computer-aided design. So these are the origins. الdevelopment لكل origin، application of ergonomics. These also required from you. You need to know the application of the industrial engineering come from which origin. You need to know, for example, the application of the medicine based on the ergonomics, how it will be. It will be in a form of systems engineering. How it will be the application of physiology, it will be based on the ergonomics. It will be in a form of systems engineering. Okay. There are two main alternatives for ergonomics problems at workplace. يعني عندنا بيكون نوعين من المشاكل في الغالب اللي نحتاج نتعامل معاهم في مكان العمل. The first one we call it task based. The second one user based. هذه يعني منشأها من التاسك المهمة، وهنا منشأها من المستخدم أو العامل أو الموظف. Okay. Either user based ergonomic problem or task based ergonomic problem. طيب, we will start with the user based. User based problem classified into 5 main issues. 5 main issues. You need to know all that. User based اللي هي قلنا حسب المستخدم أو الموظف أو العامل. المشكلة تكون من هذا المنطلق. From this one here. عندنا 5 types or 5 classification. The first classification, Anthropometric problem. المشكلة في الإبر كانت body dimension, weight, reaching distance, sitting eye height. office task is an example. يعني أنا كنت في office مثلا، seat was يعني not fit to my body dimension. فهنا كانت problem from anthropometric classification under the user-based problem. Muscular or muscle problem هي the task that strain the muscles and skeletal systems such as back injuries. For example, here we see this worker working under the car for a long time. He will have his arms raised up. The problem here will be a user-based problem based on the muscle skeletal classification. The cardiovascular problem classification is the task that places stress on the heart and the circulatory system، يعني لجهاز الدورة الدموية ولمعدل ضربات القلب، فبيكون عليه إجهاد. There are different. شوف انتبه، here الإجهاد ليس على القلب، الإجهاد على العضلة نفسها، فبتلقى كتفك بيألمك، لكن ضربات قلبك ما تغيرت. هنا in the heavy lifting, if you are doing heavy lifting for even a short distance, you may يعني بتواجهك حتى مشكلة ممكن في التنفس إذا كان الوزن جدا كبير. فهير it's a cardiovascular problem classification under the user-based problem in the working area. The fourth classification is the cognitive problem. زي ما قلنا, there are some tasks. You remember when I talked about the aviation tower, اللي هو برج الطيران, الملاحة أو برج الطيران. The tasks that need a high information processed over load or underload monitoring or high perceptions task, like the control room task and the pilot job. فهذه بتكون job user based, come from the cognitive classification. The psychomotor problem is the task that lead to strain the system that respond to visual or auditory stimuli with movement or reply. فهنا بيكون عندي الاكزامبل زي الاوبريشن روم, غرفة العمليات. الطبيب always the psychomotor part is very critical, لأنه هو بيتعامل مع مؤشرات يحتاج منها response بشكل أحيانا, وهو بيتابع في نفس الوقت screens and the same time also giving some orders to the medical staff اللي هو nurses يعني حوالينه. فبيكون الجزء اللي هو الذهني أو السايكوموتر بيسموه, مش الذهني, اللي هو النفسي أو الإدراكي, يحتاج يكون في response لأشياء visual وسمعية في لحظتها. يعني خلينا نقول let's say the screen for a sudden just give him that the heart rate of the patient يعني gets to a risk number. He has to take immediate action to do maintain it. الطبيب who's going to work on يعني stitching, عملية الخياطة, يحتاج لها تركيز لأكثر من شيء. بتركز على الستيتشز نفسها, السترينجز هذه الخيوط, وفي نفس الوقت على القطعة هذه المعدنية اللي بتخترق الجلد, وكيف بتعمل السيوينج هذه على جرح المريض. فبيكون عندي psychomotor problem are the classification for these type of problems that needs a movement and reply based on a يعني محفزات أو رسائل visual or audio, يعني صوتية أو بصرية. وفي نفس الوقت أنت sometimes you need to do a movement or response either movement يعني حركي, أو أحيانا يكون visually عفوا صوتي, لأنه أنت ممكن توجه الممرض اللي عندك بناء على قراءة معينة, تقول له أعمل الشيء الفلاني while you are doing things at the same time by your hands. These are the fifth classification of the psychomotor problem of the user-based. You remember here we talked about the anthropometric problem. We are going just to go further for this only type of classification, because it's going to be as we talked before, if you recall here. Why? The anthropometry are the application. The industrial engineering is the application of the anthropometry or the anatomy origin. So we will go a little further about this issue of the user base that come from the anthropometric problems. Here are in this figure, very important figure, and you need to know a lot of details, and I will highlight the things you need to record them in this picture, because you will need them maybe in your project, in your even capstone design, or sometimes in your work, inshallah, in the future. These are a database of anthropometric for the human being, both genders, male and female, in different positions. If you look to the letters here, A, B from the left, then we have C, and then we have D, E, F, G, H. Then we have in this table on the right, those letters listed on this column. The definition or the measurement of each letter is on the left side here. This is how you read this picture. So the letter A, look to the letter A, this is the female here, having her arm above or over her head. We call this standing overhead reach. يعني where do I need this؟ أنا أبغى أعمل شلف، رف، عارفين الرف. فين أحط الرف في الجدر؟ على أي ارتفاع؟ على ارتفاعي أنا فقط. ممكن أن أكون شخص طويل القامة، ممكن أكون قصير القامة. If I put it only to based on my height, I don't consider the people who's going to work on this place، فمعناه أنا عملت شيء خطأ. طيب. Do I need to go and measure everyone who's going to work in this place their height؟ ما هو منطقي إنه those people they may change over time. اليوم عندي موظفين بكرة يجوا غيرهم. That's why I need the anthropometric database to help me to identify if I want to put a shelf رف مثلا. I consider this shelf within the height of the female and the male range. So those people here in both genders, with the different heights they have, they can reach this overhead shelf. فالقياس للA طبعا هو I'm not talking about only shelf, I'm talking about anything you need to reach it in your work that needs you to overhead. يعني تمد يدك على أعلى من ارتفاع رأسك حتى تصل له، بغض النظر إيش هو. ممكن ما يكون شلف، ممكن يكون arm للماشين. Okay, so this position will give you or عفوا this measurement will give you the determination what is the height is acceptable. طيب هتسألني يا دكتور أنا معقول I'm going to memorize all these for male and female؟ Not actually you are going to memorize it in numbers, but you need to know the range of each measurement from low to high, and I will give you a way how to do it very easily. We will continue with the measurement, but look to this side of the table, the female and the male part. You see the ranges from 70 to around 90 for the overhead reach. You don't have any other 70s and 90s in this table. So this is now, I got the overhead reach without knowing in details with the decimal numbers. Why? I need from you to at least know the sense. يكون عندك يسموه الحدس الهندسي. مو معقول أنا يكون واحد حاطط لي هو مثلا يعني 60 inch. طبعا these are inches. You need to convert it to centimeter to get the local يعني dimensions. ولا أحد يحط لي هي عشانه طويل مثلا يحط لي هي 98 مثلا. فأنت when you put 70 to 90 هذا at least extremes will be appeared in your life application. But if you need more further details and specific, then you can go to these references that is provided and available online. طيب, let's move on to letter B. Standing height. Now this is B. Where is the female? Look to the right side, not to the left side. This is B. Actually, both are okay. Now, why we need B? We need to know the height of the people. لما أحط حاجز أو أحط باب الحلق حق الباب من الأعلى الفريم. How do I put the frame? I need to know the height of the people, or at least the minimum and the maximum, so I work with this tolerance. So we have 60 to around 70 from the minimum in the female. Usually طبعا the female will be less than the male as an average, not extremes، لأنه أكيد عندك في الإكستريمز طبيعي يكون عندك female أطول من male، لكن in average. So we go with the minimum in the female and the maximum in the male, and we go with the closest number. يعني 60 to 73. This is, I know that will be are the standing height. If you look to the table, you will not find 60s here. You will find the closest one are 50 to 69, which is 50 to close to 70. And the others are in different ranges. So here how you can memorize the ranges without really going with the specific number with the decimals, because I can give you my question. Let's say the standing height needed in a case. I'm giving you a case, and then an engineer need to do a frame door or arm or a barrier, and he needs to put it an acceptable height that can allow male and female go or walk through it without problem. What will be the range of height that can be acceptable for this case? So you tell me that it's from 60 to around 70, that I can consider it as an acceptable. Okay. Now moving on to standing eye height. Letter C. Letter C represent المدى حق عينك while you are standing. Where do I need it? أحتاج إنه الموظف يكون شغال هو واقف، زي الطبيب while he is doing his surgery ما بيكون جالس في أغلب الأوقات، بيكون واقف. السكرينز فين أحطها؟ في المكان أو الارتفاع المناسب for this surgeon or any other operator who is working on screen. فأنا أحطها on within this range between 56 to 69. So يعني low 70 طبعا and above a mid of 50. This is the standing eye height. في عندنا standing forward reach اللي هو letter D. You see the female that look to the right side والarm حقتها اليمين ممتدة لتصل لشيء. And this is different than A. How it's different? In A overhead أنا أبغى أوصل لشيء أعلى من مستوى رأسي. In letter D أبغى أوصل لشيء على مستوى أفقي horizontally. okay؟ على مستوى أفقي أمامي، يعني ما حرفع يدي على أعلى من رأسي، يعني حيكون في دون مستوى أو في حدود مستوى الرأس، ما حيتعدى الرأس. Otherwise it will go to letter A. طيب in letter D you need to design that. يعني خلينا نقول هنا مثلا another shelf، لكن here the shelf أقرب لكم هي مثلا تدخل المطبخ، يعني your kitchen at home بيكون عندك هذه الرخامة لها ارتفاع لازم يكون معين حتى يتناسب مع all the people. طبعا انتوا اكيد ما بتدخلوا تشتغلوا عليها، لكن يعني خلينا افتراضا يوم كذا جاء عملت بتتسوي فيها شيء في البيت والله يستر عليهم اللي حتسويه، فيعني حيكون متناسب مع ارتفاعك الرخام. لكن طول الدواليب all the storage of the kitchen will be on category A or letter A لأن most of it will be overhead reach. Okay? While when you are working for something that on يعني the bathroom mirror، خلينا نقول الله يكرمكم دورة المياه بيكون mirror وأحيانا بيكون فيها كذا شوية يعني رف صغير كذا بتحط فيه الأشياء. فهير maybe you have it on your standing forward reach اللي هو letter D. So here you put it in height 30 to 39. This is considered to be the acceptable range for this measurement. The sitting height, which is letter E. Now we are moving from the standing to the sitting position. A sitting position, the easiest example أنا أعطيك اللي هو الكرسي حق السيارة. أكيد أنا أصممه بطريقة يتناسب with the sitting height for the minimum of this one here 31 to almost 38 or 39. تمام؟ From 31 to 38 I have to put the sitting height للseat position. الهايت طبعا حيبدأ من فين؟ شايفين يبدأ؟ طبعا here are the distance الجزء النهاية وجزء البداية from the feet للسي ألين مستوى النظر لأنه هو كان خاص بمستوى العين. بالنسبة for the E للورك أو الآخر اللور باك إلى above or يعني just above من الهيد، ما يكون أقل أو أصغر، لازم يكون متعدي الهيد. Okay. Where we are now. Okay. For F, which is the sitting eye height, similar to C, but while you are seated. Okay, and it will be the distance from the floor to the eye of the person while he is or she is sitting or seated. Again, here is the dimension from 42 to 52. So now this is what you need to memorize: the 42 to 52, 31 to 38. Easily, when I give you a range from 30 to 39 or 38, two things will be applicable that time: the standing forward reach and the sitting height. These are okay, they are close to each other, but definitely if I am going to giving you these dimensions 30 to 39 and I ask you as a standing overhead reach, obviously you will say it doesn't make sense. This is very not acceptable dimensions or measurements for a standing overhead. This can be for something that sitting height or for standing forward reach. Okay. Where are we now? Okay, now the sitting knee height. The sitting knee اللي هو ارتفاع الركبة. Again, this is very important for the desk office. لما أصمم الديسك للأوفيس وبعمل أدراج لازم أتأكد إنه الهايت للني عندي space enough to up to 25 inches حتى ما يكون عندي شخص يجلس وتبقى أفخاذه أو ركبته يعني هيت اللي هو أو يعني ما تقدر تعدي من تحت الديسك أو الأدراج اللي تحت الديسك. السيت depth this one اللي هو عمق المقعد نفسه. السيت depth اللي هو الاتش، شايفين من آخر الباك إلى خلف اللي هو الساق. طبعا إن seated position فيكون الشخص جالس ونقيس المسافة ما بين خلف الساق إلى آخر الظهر، المنطقة يعني الواضحة في الصورة. This is the depth of the seat عشان أقدر أحدد عمق المقعد. Also I have a very wide and good range. يعني see the female from 16, الميل comes to up to 21 inch. فأنا ما أصممه لمقاعد تشوفوها أحيانا تكون يقول لك تضايق ما هي مريحة. ممكن يكون الدبث حقه almost يعني on the barrier of the 20 or maybe 19. فيجي شخص يعني جسمه كبير ما حيرتاح. always work with tolerance. دائما نشتغل بتولرنس. بفكرة التولرنس انه اعطي زيادة في بعض الاشياء حتى تضمن انه الاكستريمز حتى يعني ما يواجهوا صعوبات. And that leads us to talk about this. يعني when you design, if this dark shaded area is the comfort area, it would be better to work or design for a better يعني space to the worker and give him an extra room, and consider that the different anthropometric dimensions between human body. And that's why the concept of preferred working zones of the hands and feet come in the anthropometric, which means that the determination of the safe and safe distance from the danger point. فلو كان الوركر عندك like this one here is working and needs to have his arm in this area, and في عندنا danger point here in this corner, لازم يكون عندي barrier ولازم يكون السبيس اللي هنا محسوب determined. How we determine it? Read the red font. The safe distance هذه we consider it from this arrow to here, from these sides, we call it the safe distance. طيب, how we measure it is the straight line distance between the danger point and the barrier. معناها إيش هي المسافة الآمنة؟ هي المسافة المستقيمة أو الخط المستقيم ما بين الحاجز و الدينجر بوينت اللي هي المنطقة الخطر. Okay. wall safety guard enclosure opening beyond the operator's body cannot proceed toward the hazard. فالبارير اللي يقصده انه يكون عندي جدار حاجز شيء يغلق beyond which the operator's body يعني يمنع جسم الاوبريتور اوكي to proceed toward. فما يقدر جسم الاوبريتور انه يروح لمنطقة الخطر من خلال هذا البارير. السيف distance هي الستريت لاين between the barrier and the danger point. طيب مين هي البارير؟ البارير قلنا زي الجدار اللي هنا موجود هذا. طيب ايش وظيفته؟ beyond the operator's body cannot proceed toward the hazard. فهو البارير هذا وظيفته انه بيخلي الاوبريتور ما يقدر يوصل للمنطقة الخطرة، بيمنعه انه يوصل ليها. look to this remark here. That distance اللي هي ايش المقصود بيها؟ safe distance. That distance is the safe distance should be increased by a safety margin. فيقول لك يا حبيبي يا مهندس لا تروح تصمم لي على موضوع الدينجر هنا وتمشي لي بالملي. يجيك واحد يده طويل واصبعه طويل عنده حاجه يعني اعلى من العايدين. ف safe distance in this case increased. ليه؟ عشان safety زياده بيكون عندي فيها مارجن، انا اعتبر لاي شيء يعني صار اقلل من المخاطر reduce the accidents. That's why you see these zones هي البريفيرد زون هنا الدارك one، لكن هذه comfort also zone لانه لو شخص arm اطول عنده فتكون عنده مساحه اكبر. نفس الشيء the same for the foot. This is the needed zone لكن you put an extra to the wall فبتعطي مساحه للشخص انه يشتغل. نفس الشيء here the height، انا احط الديسك height compared to the seated position different than the standing position work. الستاندينج position احطه اعلى، لكن الدبث للطاوله ما احتاجه لانه الهيومن هير ما حيدخل رجله من تحت الديسك. The same if I'm going to reach something that is harmful or danger, I need to consider the straight line as you can see from the different position حسب وجود الدينجر بوينت. إذا كانت الدينجر بوينت here لازم أعتبرها بالشكل هذا. إذا كانت هنا فأنا أعمل روتيتنج عشان أتأكد if there is a danger point like يعني مراوح أو قصاصة أو شيء زي كده أو آلة حادة، فأعمل حسابي على السيف point from different angles to avoid the operator body reach to this danger point. Hope that's clarify the concept of the preferred working zone of the hands and feet, which is driven from the anthropometric concept. Okay. طيب we finished the user-based problems. Now we will talk about the task-based problems. The task-based problems consist of 6 issues. The user-based was 5 main issues, but in the task-based, it's 6 main issues. Classification, I mean. The first one, physical aspect of human-machine interaction. الphysical aspects للشيب, للcolor, للsize, للtexture of the machine that could be is the problem. يعني interaction between them was based on a physical problem من الماشين نفسها أو من التاسك نفسها. Cognitive aspect if the human machine interface and team interaction. Understanding of instructions and warnings, style of dialogue between computer and user. Here I need to have the instructions clearly give to the labor or trained the labor to those instructions before I ask them to work on these machines. لأنه here the task-based problem under the cognitive aspect بتعتمد على إنه الإدراك الذهني كان في مشكلة من الأساس بسبب إنه كان في miscommunication في الانستركشنز، ما أعطيت بشكل واضح للموظف إنه يعرف كيف يتعامل مع المشاكل اللي تظهر له في الماشين. The third one, work design and workplace layout. Layout here كان مصمم بطريقة سببت مشاكل. Either having the machines يعني بعيدة عن أماكن التواجد العمال، أو بغض النظر إيش هو كان layout, but this is also cause a task-based problem. Physical environmental factors are very obvious. يعني maybe you as a students, I have seen it in some classrooms. الارم ريست اللي هي بتحط عليها ورقة الامتحان بتكون ما هي شغالة مثلا، فهنا بيكون عندي أو لا يعني أحلى منها كان الفاير ألارم. يعني في بعض الناس كده تحب يعني أيام الفاينل إكزامز to يعني to switch off the fire alarm، فبيعمل يعني noise, and this is a physical environmental factor, task-based problem. Also the lighting considered to be إذا ما كان عندي the correct lighting to the environment, it could cause a task-based problem under the physical classification factor, okay, or biological contaminants اللي هي مخلفات كيميائية أو hazards. The fifth one, job design, selection and training. الجوب ديزاين تصميمها من الأساس كان يعني في إشكالية أثرت على الانتراكشن between the human. Also the work schedules، ممكن يكون الورك سكيجول بيكون هو عملية تصميمه بشكل خاطئ or there is no training، ما أعطوهم training كفاية، فبتكون this is under the job selection and training. The last one is the organizational environment or psychosocial factors, and this one is the satisfaction, communication, and organizational structure within the group. As you recall before, when we said if I'm going to assign the team members and if I'm going to let you to select your pairs, this is a task-based problem based on the organizational environment or psychosocial factors classification. You need to know these factors and know the difference between the task and the user-based problems, because those are the two common problems. You will see them in the case study of your project or the examples you will search them online. Two common societies in the ergonomic studies. عندنا منظمتين يعني أكثر منظمات يعني معروفة سمعة Occupational Safety and Health Administration, which is the OSHA, known as OSHA. And what does OSHA do? Is providing companies, factories with ergonomics, guidelines, regulations, and standards, principles of safety and ergonomics evaluations, evolution and solutions. The second bodies or society is the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, Niosh, and provides companies, factories with information and data about health hazards and risks and ergonomic solution. طيب maybe you ask, طيب كأنهم يشبهوا بعض يعني OSHA and Niosh, what is the difference between them? طيب the difference between those two, Niosh اللي هي National Institute is a research and education institution, not a legal agency. Okay. OSHA is a legal agency. That's why you see regulations, يحط أنظمة. Okay? OSHA create regulations, أنظمة. But Niosh focus on the scientific field of occupational safety and how it moves it forward. Okay? يعني هو بحثي يركز على تطوير occupational safety. هناك تنظيمي تشريعي اللي هو الأوشا. Okay? So let's take an example about the Niosh here. How Niosh, there is an example coming, but before the example, let's here, maybe this will wrap up or summarize the concept of the ergonomics objective. If you recall, the ergonomist اللي هو المتخصص في ergonomics aims to make the workplace safer, more comfortable, and more productive. So when you do your project, I want you at the end to show me these three things. How is your solution make the job or the process or the work more safer, more productive, and more comfortable? Optimized system design, and that's what we call it together, optimized system design. أتمتة تصميم النظام. Okay? Simple visualization of ergonomic issue. يعني احنا قلنا انه في task based and user based. عشان يعني تستوعب الموضوع ده الwork place environmental factors عندنا task based and operator based. Here, for example, we have physical and mental. Also here we have task design. Vibration considered to be a task factor. Temperature considered to be another task. To the factors to the environment. So both of them, they exist in any workplace, and these factors can affect the working place, whether it's task or operator factor. I want you to see this case studies that is illustrate how the Niosh works on the development and the research of the ergonomics rather than regulations. Niosh mentioned that around 60% of low back disorder in the United States due to lifting heavy loads in different sectors, industries, services, and healthcare. قال لك يا أستاذ إحنا عملنا بحث ولقينا 60% من اللي عندهم آلام في أسفل الظهر في اليونايتد ستيتس كان بسبب الهيفي لودز ليفتنج اللي هو حمل الأوزان الثقيلة في أماكن عملهم سواء كانت اندستري مصانع ولا خدمات ولا هيلث كير. A low back, for example, a low back problems in service and industries companies is lifting the heavy product from the back to the back storage by the workers of the shorter truck or shorter lorry. اللي هو العمال اللي بيشتغلوا في الشاحنات، زي ذا بوست اوفيس اللي هو الدليفري، بيحمل صناديق وللشاحنه فروم ذا شاحنه للدرجه لين ما يطلع لك هي از كاستمر. هم هنا في التراكس بيكون اكيد اشياء اثقل، بيكون هيفي ليفتنج. فهذا اكزامبل. طيب ايش سوت النايوش؟ نايوش عملوا ديفلوبمنت لهذه التول اللي هو التيل ليفت، يسموها تيل جيت. تيل جيت if you search it هي it looks like this machine او tool. الاوبريتور هنا حامل الوزن الثقيل كله على التول هذه. التول دي it can يعني rise the heavy weight and move it without harming or يعني putting the load onto the operator. So this is an example of Niosh application. Another example here, a traffic safety cone storage. الكون هذه اللي بيحطوها للسلامة في الطرقات، typically هي وزنها من 2 إلى 5 كيلو and are often stored on the truck vertically. يعني بيحطوها في الترك، بيرتبوها على شكل يعني فوق بعضها بالطريقة هذه. makes it difficult to load and unload. ليش؟ لأنه the operator فاكرين الرايزنج الهاند above الهيد ليفل، هو حيحتاج عشان يرفعها ويحملها، يعني رفعتها حتكون يعني متكرر العمل اللي هو repetitive movement. If you recall we talked about repetitive movement. وهو بيكون why he do it repeated for a short time؟ لأنها هي in most cases they need a lot of those in the roads. لأنه هو بيقول لك in the sewer or traffic light، يعني لو كان عند إشارة ولا هو تصريف المجاري عزكم الله، إذا كان في مشروع هناك they will commonly use around 30 cones، يحتاج 30. فعملية ترتيبها ورصها وإخراجها مرة أخرى بيكون repeated work، ممكن بيأثر على الشولدر along the time. why؟ إنه هذا شغلته، هذا بيكون طول اليوم هذا العمل، فهو بيروح من سايت لسايت بيعمل الموضوع ده، فبيكون على آخر اليوم بيكون عندي أنا يعني إجهاد لمنطقة الشولدر muscle tissue for يعني this type of task. The risk factor include repetitive gripping and awkward posture، اللي هي قلت لكم عليها البوستشر، الوضعيات يعني ما هي طبيعية، ومتكرر عملية الجريبنج اللي هو تناول هذه الكونز ويعني وضعها في الطريق أو إرجاعها vertically. Especially of the shoulder flexation of 128 degree. هو بيعمل flexation يعني بيعمل امتداد للكتف 128 إلى 138 degree from فده هذا بيأثر على الشولدر وفي نفس الوقت بيأثر على الباك of the operator. طيب what they did they did a hinge or a hinge. الهاينج هذا اللي هو مفصل عارفين المفاصل البيبان، بس هنا بيكون بالشكل هذا الوايت بيز، هذا مفصل بحيث انه هو يصير horizontally ويرجع vertically or يعني يعني go both sides or also can go in vertical in horizontal but without الvertical، لكن يكون عنده depth في التراك. لكن الهاينج هذه فكرته انه هو بيكون مفصل يتعمل روتيت. طيب ايش سوى ده؟ الهاينج was installed on the base of the shaft so it would pivot to nearly horizontal position. فهو بيخلي الكونز تقريبا في وضع horizontally so it can load and unload it easy. يعني انت لما اتخيل when you are loading الكونز هذه 30 او 40 حبه في وقت قصير، وبتروح مكان ثاني وبتحط 30 40 حبه على طول اليوم، لما بتكون بشكل افقي easier and more comfortable compared to the vertical one. وهذا عمل reduce للشولدر fixation. remember الشولدر كان كم؟ من 128 to 138، عمل له reduction to from 30 to 42 degree. فهذا improve للبوزيشن حق الفيزيكال يعني operator interaction مع الأداة هذه حقت الكونز. فعملوا evaluation. Pros: significant improvement shoulder posture, reduce grip force, eliminate overhead lifting. فعمل eliminate إلغاء لعملية إنه الذراع تروح على مستوى أعلى من الهيد. طبعا لا تنسى إنه ممكن يكون الشخص أقصر قامة فيحتاج الأرم تروح لمدى أعلى لهذا الشيء. السلبيات: pros الإيجابيات، الكونز السلبيات. Some trucks may not have enough available space for the hinged base. يعني ممكن بعض الترك ما بيكون فيها هذا المفصل أو القطعة دي ما تكون موجودة فيها. Workers have to remember to secure shaft in vertical position before driving away from site. هذه من الأشياء أصبح عنده مهمة أخرى، إنه لازم يعمل secure from the horizontal و turn it to vertical حتى ما تسقط الكونز لما الشاحنة تتحرك. These are two small case studies or examples shows the application of ergonomics in solving problems. Both of them are related to physical domain. If you recall, it's under the physical domain of the ergonomics. By this slide, we completed the first part of meeting of ergonomics, or the first chapter. And these extra resources links, I strongly recommend you to go over them, and I will ask later about your feedback, about your experience. There are here virtual labs of ergonomics where you can implement lab experiment using a friendly use application or software. Also, there are some extra information videos here. So please go over these links over this week before the weekend, and get these information, and we will discuss them in the coming classes or meetings. Thank you for watching and listening to this lecture, and now let's move on to the questions.